Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's Word Study. We're going to do two parables today, but first, once again, in Matthew chapter 13, verse 35, we see Yeshua quoting Psalm 78, verse 2, where he says, "I will speak in parables and utter things hidden since the creation of the world." There are 7 parables in Matthew 13, all revealing mysteries or secrets about the Malchut of the Shamayim, that is the kingdom of heaven. Secrets and mysteries about the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven is a physical realm that is a part of the kingdom of Elohim. Now, these secrets and mysteries about this physical realm, the kingdom of heaven, actually the Malchut of the Shamayim, was hidden from the eyes, the ears, and the hearts of everyone until Yeshua spoke them some 2,000 years ago. Today we're going to look at 2 parables. The parable of the mustard seed, which is only 2 verses, and the parable of the yeast, which is only 1 verse, seen in Matthew chapter 13. The mustard seed is verses 31 and 32. The parable of the yeast is verse 33. Now, Yeshua gives no explanations about these 2 very simple parables, probably in the interest of teaching us to develop the art of interpretation for ourselves. And also, I believe, because they are talking about some mysteries that are only now being revealed in some special ways, as you'll see. You're going to hear me saying some things that, as far as I know, no one has ever taught before. Now, let's start with the parable of the mustard seed, Matthew 13, verses 31 and 32, where we read, "Yeshua set before them another story by way of comparison, saying, the Malchut of the Shamayim, the kingdom of heaven, is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in the field, which indeed is less than all the seeds. But when it has grown, when it has matured, it is the largest of the garden plants and herbs, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the Shamayim, the heavens, come and dwell in its branches." Birds of the Shamayim, the Malchut of the Shamayim, the kingdom, again, is a physical realm. Now, that sure is a very short and simple parable, but it has some very powerful points being made. Let's look at some of those. First, Yeshua is not talking about a mustard seed. Here we go again with the interpreting of the original Aramaic into other languages. The fact is, mustard plants do not grow anywhere in the East. That plant is indigenous to West Asia and Europe, and also it's a plant that does not grow as large as a tree. So much for mustard. An evergreen tree would be more like it. Most scholars agree that Yeshua was probably referring to a plant known as Salvadora persica. Salvadora persica. Used for centuries as a natural toothbrush. It grows in the East, it's a tiny seed, and matures into an evergreen tree. Now, as explained in the parable of the sower, as well as in the parable of the wheat, the sower in this parable, as always, is Yeshua He's the man sowing seeds in the world. The seed being sown in this parable, it's referring to the believers in Yeshua. Believers, those whom Abba Father is calling out as a gift for his Son. And in terms of the so-called mustard seed, that seed, when I talk about the believers, those that Abba Father is calling out, that's talking about all the seeds in the garden, different plants and so on. Different types of believers, like I'm always saying, Yahweh doesn't like bricks. He hates bricks. He doesn't like everything to look exactly the same, little toy soldiers. He likes natural rocks. They're all different. Well, that's how it is with, Yeshua's sowing seeds. There's all kinds of different seeds being sown in his garden, the world. This so-called mustard seed those seeds are talking about the B'nai Elohim, the children of Elohim. This is a special class, and you've heard me talk about this before if you've watched many of my videos, where I say that in the Netchatef, not all so-called believers are taken in the Netchatef. There's a lot of people who say they're believers, but they're not really pitching their tent with Elohim. They are esteeming the things of the world more than him. They might be Sunday churchgoers, or, they believe in their religion. They don't really know the word. They say they're believers. And, in many ways they are, but they're not the ones taken in the Netchatef. The ones taken in the Netchatef are those who are, a daily walk with Abba Father, Yahweh, and Yeshua, and the Ruach is, the filling of the Ruach is growing in them, and so on. They're taken in the Netchatef. And as I've said before, in Philippians 3, verses 10 and 11, we see the word resurrection 2 times. Even in the Greek, it's the first one is anastasis, and then in verse 11, it's ex-anastasis. Anastasis means resurrection. Ex-anastasis means out of that resurrection. So there, Shaul there is talking about the Netchatef, the resurrection, and then he's talking about a group that is taken out of those. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another group taken out of those, and so on. The B'nai Elohim, this is a special group. In 1 John, it says that we are the B'nai Elohim, the children of Elohim, and what we will be has not yet been made known. There's something very special there. And I believe that that group is the mustard seed that's being talked about in this parable. Many have always taught that the seed in this parable refers to the church, but please, that makes people think that Yeshua is talking about religions and churches, and that would be a terrible thing to get anyone to believe, because then they'll start, worshiping some religion with false doctrines, going to church on Sunday and thinking that's the ticket. No, Yeshua is talking very clearly about the B'nai Elohim. This is a special class of believers who are taken out of all those who are raptured. The mustard seed, being referred to as the smallest of all the seeds Yeshua is sowing in the world, is his way of referring to the B'nai Elohim, those who are small in number when compared to all those who comprise all the believers we see on earth, especially during the 1,000-year millennium. many of those, so-called believers are going to go through the tribulation. Those who say they're believers, but really they're more interested in the things of the world than they are in the Malchut of the Shamayim or the Malchut of Elohim. They're going to go through the tribulation, and they'll be, used in many ways. And then we have the 144,000 all-male Jews during the tribulation who realize that Yeshua was and is their Mashiach, and they start preaching the gospel during the tribulation, and they save many, so that after the tribulation we go into the 1,000-year millennium. There we're going to see, many believers on earth. But the B'nai Elohim are going to be a very small group, and that's why we see this small seed, the B'nai Elohim, which grows larger than any other seeds that are like creating the other herbs and plants in the garden, all the other believers. Referring to the fact that the B'nai Elohim will become greater than all these other believers. Now also, the birds here represent all those other believers who find refuge and dwell in the branches of that small seed which grows into a large tree. In other words, the B'nai Elohim will be reigning with Yeshua in a very special way, not yet revealed or made known, during the 1,000-year millennium, and all those on earth will be receiving instruction and birachot, blessings, from them, perching in their branches, if you will. So, the Malchut of the Shamayim, the kingdom of the heavens, is the physical realm, which is a smaller part of the Malchut of Elohim, the kingdom of Elohim. It's what we will see during the 1,000-year millennium. And Yeshua is explaining that it is like this very small seed which Yeshua has sown into the world. Smaller in number than all the seeds he sows in the world, but when matured, become great enough to shelter and nourish those who are still learning during the millennial period. Now, let's take a look at the parable of the leaven, verse 33 in chapter 13 of Matthew. Matith Yahu. Yeshua told them another parable, saying, the Malchut of the Shamayim, the kingdom of heaven, is like leaven, or yeast, which a woman took and mixed into 3 measures of meal until it worked all through the meal, and all of it became leavened. That's the parable. This parable is all about the process of Yeshua's work in the world. One bad apple spoils the whole barrel. If one apple is rotten or has sin, leaven is wickedness, then that sin, that rottenness, that wickedness will spread to all the other apples and spoil the whole barrel full. Now, in this parable, leaven is added to the 3 measures of meal. 3. And all the meal became leavened. The 3 measures of meal can be likened to the eyes, the ears, and the hearts of believers. The leaven is added to that, and those eyes, ears, and hearts become darkened. The eyes, ears, and hearts of believers, the seeds Yeshua is sowing in the world. Exposing our eyes, ears, and hearts to wickedness, leaven, is a very dangerous thing to do. Many churches and religions today are doing just that. They're approving homosexuality, even though Romans chapter 1, verses 24 through 32 makes Elohim's stance on this very clear. And note that verse 32 in Romans chapter 1 includes those who approve homosexuality. Now, we love those who think they're homosexual, but we cannot give them any approval about living that way. If we do, we will be judged by Elohim along with them. He makes that clear. So anyone who gives approval to homosexuality or same-sex marriage is being wicked. I've explained this one before too. A lot of people think, oh, wicked. They think it's like, ooh, really horrible, evil. Wicked, when you look at the original Aramaic Hebrew, the word we see in English is wicked. It's really talking about somebody who's going their own way instead of the way. There's only one way to the Father, that is the way. Tzadi. Then that path is narrow and pressed. There are very few that find it. But, the approval of same-sex marriage, homosexuality, that's people going their own way. They're not going the way because the Father makes it very clear in Romans chapter 1 and elsewhere in the first covenant. But those churches, religions, teachers, whomever, they're mixing leaven into Yeshua's work and spoiling the meal. Those who condone homosexuality, they're delivering 90% of the truth, not 100%. They keep that little bit out. Oh, it's okay. And like I always say, 90% of the truth equals no truth at all. You reserve that little bit and you go against the Father's word and you just blew the whole thing. So that's that. And once again, these 7 parables we see in Matthew chapter 13 are Yeshua's teachings which reveal knowledge. And as we know from his word, in this last hour, knowledge will be increased. We see new things being revealed in his word. I think that whole thing I'm talking about concerning the B'nai Elohim in the parable of the mustard seed, I think this is new information. And, all that stuff I talk about, I don't know when I started talking about where those who get taken in the Nechatef, the rapture, some of those are taken out. I found that in Philippians chapter 3, verses 10 and 11. That's new information, any Bible you look at. Verse 10, you see resurrection. Verse 11, you see resurrection again, except the HalleluYah Scriptures. No, in verse 10 it says resurrection. Verse 11 should be out of the resurrection. But all these parables are revealing new knowledge and secrets about the Malchut of the Shamayim to those who have eyes that see, ears that hear, and hearts that understand. These are the secrets and the mysteries of the Malchut of the Shamayim, the kingdom of heaven, which is a physical part of the kingdom of Elohim, which we will see manifested, this physical part, the Malchut of the Shamayim. We will see this manifested during the 1,000-year millennium. It's going to be something indescribable, wonderful to behold. That's our study for this week, my friends. As always, I hope and I pray that this study is a beracha to you and yours. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, shalom, chavarim. Shalom, my friends.
Now 2,000 years have gone by, it's another working day. Some would rather let it lie, but the question still remains.